Action!
Remember me.
Chris, Anya, thank you for joining me.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations on the movie. You made it epic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Absolutely
We're
epic.
seeing it tomorrow, so you know
you
more
haven't
than we
seen it?
know.
Oh, wow.
We're seeing
You're-
it tomorrow
you're
with
in for a treat.
with
Awesome.
the crew.
Awesome.
And now tell me, making the movie, was there a moment for each of you where you stopped and thought, wow, like I'm in a George Miller Mad Max movie and it's freaking bonkers?
Constantly.
Every day,
Like, I don't think, because of the nature of the incredible set builds and the unbelievable vehicles that we had, I think on this movie more than any other film, it was easy to be able to separate yourself, from the character, and just think, this is all I wanted to do as a kid. Like, this is actually my dream come true, and I cannot believe I get to do this. And then you're like, oh shit, action, yes, of course, I'm back.
I mean, even as an Australian, having grown up on these films, and to be a part of something that's been around for 45 years and is so iconically Australian was equally as sort of overwhelming and nerve-wracking as it was exciting. And I remember the very first day shooting, and I had a lot of dialogue and it was a bit kind of, shoulda, coulda, woulda done. And Angus Sampson came up and said, Chris, you're in a bloody Mad Max movie. I was like, shit, you're right, we are,
You're right,
oh my God.
yeah.
And it was just such a joy, the whole experience.
Yeah, amazing. And let's talk about the character of Furiosa and Charlize's performance in Fury Road. What did you take from that you were able to use to build your version of the character?
It was very helpful to know where I was going to end up. I knew that that would have some sort of correlation with where I began, but the script was so different from that of Fury Road that it was almost a saving grace, because I think anytime you as a performer try and copy anything or like do an it's just never going to work out for you. And so I was lucky enough that I could kind of just be truthful to this individual in this script that was having absolutely everything thrown at her. But that being said, I remember the first day I walked out as like the more recognizable Furiosa, and so many of the crew that had been on Fury Road just went, and I was like, yes. Okay, like, let's go. I can do this now.
And the audience knows that you're going to end up losing an arm, which we won't give any spoilers away, but that was something that I was like waiting all through the film going,
Oh no. Especially as
When's
the
it coming?
atrocities keep mounting up and you're like, wait, it wasn't that?
Yeah, I know.
Oh no.
And for you, Chris, Dementus, I don't even know where to start with that bloke. There is so much going on. What were your inspiration when it came to his voice, his mannerisms, his insecurities, he railing against big shots, and everything about him is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, thanks. Look, there was the script provided such a landscape of opportunities to take the character in a range of different directions, and also the environment that George created in the rehearsal process and the collaboration was just one of exploration and continually sort of trying different things, and anytime it felt predictable or familiar, go in a different direction. And we talked about different dictators and conquerors through history and individuals that had amassed large followings, and what was the sort of common trait? Was there an air of charisma? Whether there was an air of sort of dominance? There was acts of violence, exploiting people's fears, anxieties, vulnerabilities, and so it became a very sort of manipulative kind of journey.
Do you have it in you to make it epic?
For a lot of Dementus' time on screen, we hear about trauma that happened before the events of the movie. For Furiosa, we see it. We see it from start to finish. It's insane. What sort of preparation did you do for the film, like physically and mentally?
Oh, it was massive. I trained for about a year, so I still don't have my actual driver's license because I'm never in one place long enough to like go to the DMV and sit there forever. But yeah, the first thing I learned how to do in a car was a Juicy Lift 180. Like, we started like straight away, and the beauty of learning cars and motorbikes at the same time is that anything that you can pull off in a bike, you immediately feel so much safer in a car because you have a shell around you. So I thought, okay, if I can do it on the bike, the car is absolutely fine. And then just being able to be physically strong enough, I'm not Chris. I haven't come from this world where I was just doing stunts continuously. Being able to do it over and over and over again, and enjoying the fact that like maybe take 2, my perfectionist nature would come into play, and I was like, oh wow, I get better every time I do it. So now I want to do it again and again and again. I do miss my Furiosa muscles though, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was so strong. I looked at the poster the other day and I was like, I'm like small, but I was strong. I need those back.
Well, you might have to hit the gym.
Exactly.
The bloke next to you,
Exactly.
he can maybe give you some tips. And just circling back to Dementus, you played a hero for so long, a superhero in fact. But it does seem as though playing a villain was more fun. You look like you were having the best time. From a performance perspective, what is the difference getting into that sort of villain mindset?
Yeah, it was. There's so many sort of rules and expectations, and I guess limitations when playing the hero. You have to sort of abide by certain sort of rules and what you can operate within a certain space. Whereas the villain, you're allowed to be unpredictable. You're allowed to break rules. You're allowed to be offensive. And so it felt incredibly satisfying and freeing. And having done it for so many years, I definitely felt like I was a little wound up. And so this was a great sort of, space to kind of let all that out and experiment a bit more and have fun.
Who do we have here?
We're working with someone like George. It's never just surface though, It's like, well, what's underneath that? What are the motivations for that action? What's his experiences? What suffering has he been through that has caused him to be this way? And anytime you think, oh yeah, I've just figured out, he'd pose another question, offer up another idea, which makes you go, okay, cool, I didn't think of that, and off in another direction. So it really is about who's at the helm too, and guiding you through that process and allowing you the environment to run free and experiment.
Yeah, it's obvious that was happening. And Mad Max as a franchise has always been pretty blokey, cars and high-octane action, which is a generalisation perhaps, but with Fury Road, we saw the rise of the Furiosa character, this strong, empowered woman who was just kicking butt. And no one could really match her. And now she gets this standalone film. Like, what do you think that says about the industry that this very blokey franchise can be completely reimagined and as with a central female character?
I hope it keeps going. Like, it really has been the product of, I think, years and years and years of, I hope, audiences saying that they want this. They want the exploration of these women, and so I just hope it continues. That's my main hope.
Yeah, well, as someone with a daughter, I can't wait till she gets to about 18 years old to show her Furiosa.
I think
too many maggots.
There's something really beautiful in it as well, because I think what George created was, this is a character who is mostly silent, who is being oppressed in every single which way. And because where she ends up, she manages to get through it. She just doesn't allow any of it to put her down. And you see her at the very end become this sort of defiant desert flower almost that you just cannot kill. And that's the bit that I love about this movie. I love being able to see a movie that does parallel the real world in a lot of ways and being like, if you just don't let them get to you, you can come out on top.
Yeah, and Chris, you mentioned the 45 years of Mad Max history and its influence on you. Like, can you speak a bit more to that? Like George's influence as a filmmaker on Australian cinema and world cinema.
Yeah, look, I heard David Collins say that the Americans have Star Wars, the Brits have Harry Potter, and we as Australians have Mad Max, and that really resonated with me. And I thought, God, without even articulating it prior, it was so vivid and influential through my life and my, even myself as an actor to have seen the first film many years ago and think, oh God, the Australian film that made it on a global scale and didn't just sort of stay here on our shores. I watched the film with my dad. I remember as a kid, and he used to ride motorbikes, race motorbikes, and knew a lot of the stunt riders and so on. And George actually has a photograph, and he hasn't showed me, he just told me before, of my dad in the back of one of the shots with the group of his mates who were doing some of the stunt work. And so there's a lot of sort of nostalgia around it, but really, it does feel like a dream come true, to be a part of something that is so sort of iconically Australian, that has resonated around the world for many years.
Yeah, there's a sense of national pride, I think, around Mad Max.
Absolutely.
And the film is huge. It's a big deal for the local industry, for the local economy. And you spent a lot of time here making it, Anya.
Yeah.
Like, can we call you an adopted Aussie?
Oh, I would love that. I was kind of laughing about this with my mum earlier. I know Sydney so well. It's kind of shocking. It's one of those places that I never need to look at Google Maps. Like, I know the city like the back of my hand, and I would love to come back and spend more time here.
Fantastic. And I've got to let you go soon, guys. But before I do, like, what do you hope audiences take away from Furiosa? Because it is a wild, wild ride.
I mean,
I hope what the film gave. Sorry, not to, but
No,
when we
please.
both talk about Fury Road and the impression that left on us, and the wow, walk out of the cinema, continual conversation, spurs ideas. Oh, what about this moment? Like, how did they do this? I hope people have the same feeling, because that for me
Magic.
stands out as one of my sort of top 5 cinema going experiences watching that film.
I think also, again, it's just the idea of not underestimating the audience. The audience is incredibly intelligent, and I think they want big, bombastic swings at things that have this sort of a budget, and to have something that is so entertaining and yet entirely art-led. As an artist, you're just like, what more do you want?
Yeah, absolutely. And so thought-provoking as well in its themes. George Miller, what a genius.
Yeah.
Chris, Anya, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
And cut.